3, 2, 1. I am just one more subscriber away from 30 subscribers, but even that feels special enough to do some kind of celebratory announcement that we're almost at 30 subscribers. I'm very pleased with that increase, about 33 viewers every week, and that's a standard that the analyst says. I'm very grateful to everybody for being here. Hello YouTube, Otaku here. We're going to be getting back into with The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. And if you haven't been onto this channel before, go ahead and check out the channel description for anything else. But if you have been onto this channel before, then grab that eucalyptus equipment. Let's get this party underway. See, I was planning on using the smaller equipment this session, but I think a proper amount of eucalyptus is definitely in order. And I'm truly grateful for every day that I'm alive. I want to thank God and my family and everybody else in my life that cares about me and helps me push forward. Because without y'all, I definitely wouldn't be here. And yeah, even to those who aren't here with me anymore, thank you. Piss off. You know what I'm talking to. With that out of the way, we give a little extra section of this starting intro. Usually it goes about for 2 minutes. This time it went on for 3, though I don't mind, and I hope y'all don't either. Alright, so we ended off on page 51. Right, here we go. On chapter 4 of John Steinbeck's anti-propaganda, communist, fictional book. Before we continue, I'm just going to make sure that everything is set up for the next time. Oh yes, and please do not forget to have some type of drink, water, whatever you feel for sorts to get you along on this. Right, that out of the way, let us begin. By 11 o'clock, the snow was falling heavy in big, soft puffs, and the sky is not visible at all. People were scurrying through the falling snow. And snow piled up in the driveways. And the doorways, and it piled up on the statue in the public square, and on the trails from the mines to the harbor. Snow piled up and the little cartwheels skidded as they were pushed along, and over the town they hung a blackness that was deeper than the cloud, and over the town there hung a sulkiness and a dry, growing hatred. The people did not stand in the streets long, but they entered the doors, and the doors closed, and they seemed to be eyes looking from behind the curtains. And when the military went through the street, or when the patrol went down the main street, the eyes were on the patrol, cold and sullen. And in the shop, people came to buy little things for lunch, and they asked for the goods and got it, and paid for it, and exchanged no good day with the seller. In the little palace drawing room, the lights were on, and the lights shone on the falling snow outside the window. The court was in session. Lancer sat at the head of the table, with Hunter on his right, then Tonder to his left, and on the lower end Captain Locke with a little pile of papers in front of him. On the opposite side, Mayor or Dean sat on the colonel's left, and Prackle was next to him. Prackle, who scribbled on his pad of paper. Beside the table, 2 guards stood by bayonets fixed, with helmets on their heads, and they were little wooden images. Between them was Alex Mordine, a big young man with a wide, low forehead, and a deep-set eyes and a long, sharp nose. His chin was firm and his mouth sensual and wide. He was wide of shoulders, narrow of hips, and in front of him, his manacled hands clasped and clasped again. He was dressed in black trousers. I'm going to take a quick hit super fast. It's been a long day. Like a day to remember, because I took care of personal matters like you wouldn't believe. And it was extremely difficult. As I live and breathe, I do give thanks to God. Alright, let's continue. He was dressed in black trousers, a blue shirt opened at the neck, and a dark coat shiny for wear. Captain Loft read from the paper in front of him. When ordered back to work, he refused to go. And when the order was repeated, the prisoner attacked Captain Loft with the pickaxe he carried. Captain Benstick posed with his body. Mayor Ordine coughed, and when Loft stopped reading, he said, "Sit down, Alex. One of you guards get him a chair." The guards turned and pulled up a chair unquestioningly. Loft said, "It is customary for the prisoner to stand." "Let him sit down," said Ordine. "Only we will know. You can report that he stood." "It is not customary to falsify reports," said Loft. "Sit down, Alex," Ordine repeated, with a harsher tone. Get a little bit of water. Okay. Here we go. The big young man sat down, and his manacled hands were restless on his lap. Locke began. "This is contrary to all," the colonel said. "Let him be seated." Captain Locke cleared his throat. Captain Benstick interposed his body and received a blow to the head, which crushed his skull. A medical report is appended. There was... I'm gonna repeat that super quick. I wasn't too sure how they were spacing the quotations with that. There we go. Captain Benstick imposed his body and received a blow to the head, which crushed his skull. A medical report is apprehended. Do you wish for me to read it, Colonel? Question mark. No need, said Lancer. Make it as quick as you can. These facts have been witnessed by several of our soldiers, whose statements are attached. This military court finds that the prisoner is guilty of murder and recommends a death sentence. Fuck these soldiers. Fuck the death sentence. Unless you're like a pedo. Anyways. Do you wish for me to read the statements of the soldiers? Question mark. Lancer sighed, rubbing his nose. No. He turned to Alex. Don't deny that you killed the captain, do you? Alex smiled sadly. I hit him, he said. I didn't know that I killed him, but I hit him. Ordine said, Good work, Alex. And the two looked at each other as friends. Loft said, Do you mean to imply that he was killed by someone else? I don't know, said Alex. I'd only hit him and then somebody hit me. Colonel Lancer said, We want to offer an explanation. I can't think of anything that would change this sentence, but we will listen. Lob said, I respectfully submit that the colonel should not have that. It indicates that the court is not impartial. Ordine laughed dryly. Have you an explanation? He repeated. Alex lifted his hand to gesture and the other came to it. He looked embarrassed and put his hand lap again. I was mad, he said. I had a pretty bad temper. He said I must work, and I'm a free man. I got mad and I hit him. I guess I hit him hard. It was the wrong man. He pointed to Loft. That's the man I wanted to hit. That one. Lancer said, It doesn't matter what you wanted to hit. Anyone who won would have been the same. Sorry you did it, he said, unbinding to the table. You would look well on the record if you were sorry. Sorry, Alex said. I'm not sorry. He told me to go to work. Me, a free man. I wanted to be an alderman. He said I had to work? But if the sentence is death, won't you be sorry then? Alex sunk his head and really tried to think honestly. No, he said. You mean I would do it again? That's what I mean, Lancer said. No, Alex said thoughtfully. I don't think I'm sorry. Lancer said, Put it in the record that the prisoner was overcome with remorse. Sentence is automatic. Do you understand? He turned to Alex. This court has no leeway. The court finds you guilty. It sentences you to be shot immediately. I do not see any reason to torture you with any more. Captain Loth, is there anything I have forgotten? Question mark. You've forgotten me, said Ordine. And he stood up and pushed the back of his chair and stepped over to Alex. And Alex, from his long habit, stood up respectfully. Alexander, I am the elected mayor. I know it, sir. Alex, these men are invaders. They have taken our country by surprise in treachery and force. Captain Loft said, Sir, This should not be permitted. Lancer said, Hush. It is better to hear it. Or would you rather it be whispered? Ordine went on as though he had not been interrupted. When they came, the people were confused, and I was confused. We did not know what to think or do. You were the first clear act. Your private anger was the beginning of public anger. I know it is said in town that it was acting with these men. I could show the town, but you were going to die. And I want you to know. Alex dropped his head and then raised it. I know, sir. I know. Lancer said, Is the squad ready? Outside, sir, said Captain Pracker. Who is commanding? Lieutenant Tonder, sir, said Lieutenant Hunter, or Major Hunter. Tonder raised his head and his chin was hard and he held his breath. Ordine said softly, Are you afraid, Alex? And Alex said, Yes, sir. I can't tell you not to be. I would be too. It's on these young gods of war. Lancer said, Call your squad. Tonder got up quickly and he went to the door. This is so sad. What a fucking piece of shit these guys are. Can I get an amen? I'm sorry. That was too far. No, but for real though, these guys are bad. They got no remorse in this situation whatsoever. Like, you imagine if it was happening to you. Oh, but you wouldn't act like this. You would conform like the rest of these people. Yeah, I highly doubt that. And I think it's like pretty biased and hypocritical for them to sit there and like try to force the thoughts of, hey, you should just listen. Just listen. Don't fight it. Freaking freaks. Fuck no. He's a free man. You're gonna die a free man. With or without your consent. Yeah. But I'm with Ordine on this one. Like, dude, can't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you, I love you. That's basically what he was trying to say. Ordine said, Alex, go. Knowing that these men will have no rest at all until they're all gone or dead. You will make the people one. It's a sad acknowledgement and little enough gift to you, but it is so. No rest at all. Alex shut his eyes tightly. Mayor Ordine leaned close and kissed him on the cheek. Aw, I told you fucking loved this nigga. Goodbye, Alex. It's kind of sad, though. The guards took Alex by the arms, and the young man kept his eyes tightly closed, and they guided him through the door. The squad faced about, and their feet marched away, down out of the house and into the snow, and the snow muffled their footsteps. The men about the table were silent. Ordine looked towards the window and saw a little round spot being rubbed, clear of snow by a quick hand. He stared at it, fascinated, and then he looked quickly away. He said to the colonel, I hope you know what you're doing, Lancer. Captain Locke gathered the papers and Lancer asked, The square, Captain. Question Locke. Yes, in the square. It must be public. Fuck you, Locke said. And Ordine said, I hope you know. Shaking his head. "Men," said the colonel, "whether we know or not, it is what must be done." Silence fell on the room, and each man listened, and it was not long. From the distance there came a crash of firing. Lancer sighed deeply. Ardeen put his hand on his forehead and filled his lungs deeply. And there was a shout outside, and the glass of the window crashed inward, and Lieutenant Prackle wheeled about. He brought his hand up to his shoulder and stared at it. Lancer leaped up, crying, "So it starts. Are you badly hurt, Lieutenant?" "My shoulder," said said Lieutenant Prackle. Lancer took command. "Captain Loft, there will be tracks in the snow. Now, I want every house searched for firearms. I want every man who is taken hostage. You, sir," he said to the mayor, "in place of protected custody. And understand this, we will shoot 5, 10, 100 just for one." Ardeen said quietly, "A man of certain memories." Lancer stopped in the middle of an order, and he looked over slowly at the mayor, and for a moment they understood each other. And then Lancer straightened his shoulders. "A man of no memories." Whoa, like, this is getting crazy. Do you fucking hear this shit, people? Hold on, I want to read that again, because that's crazy work from the mayor. Ardeen said quietly, "A man of certain memories." Lancer stopped in the middle of his order. He looked over slowly at the mayor, and for a moment they understood each other. And then Lancer straightened his shoulders. "Man of no memories." I don't even think I can deliver it right. Like, it's just so good. He's fucking pissed. He said sharply, and then, "I want every weapon in town gathered. Bring in everyone who resists. Hurry, before the tracks are filled by the snow." The staff found their helmets and loosened their pistols and started out, and Ardeen went to the broken window. He said sadly, "The sweet, cool smell of the snow." Chapter 5, page 57. Whoa. So yeah, shit's hitting the fan right now. I mean, shit hit the fan whenever they fucking invaded, but like, shit's hitting the fan now that they're killing somebody intentionally in front of the people, like, to just demonstrate a fucking will of force. Well, the townspeople and the mayor and everybody else are giving pretty good reactions, I'm not gonna lie. Chapter 5. Speaking of The Moon is Down, reminds me of a song I just got through making. The second line, so when the verse starts, is "Moon rays, deep in the night, I come for your food, and that's who's to blame for the candies to cruise, coming through in the lens of Dastardly's cruise." If you know, you know it's for my second album, Candy Island, but all context, no sense, no common sense at all, because you literally need context to understand that. Bars, regardless, in my opinion. Alright, chapter 5, page 57. The days and the weeks dragged on, and the months dragged on. The snow fell and melted and fell and melted and finally fell and stuck. The dark buildings in the little town wore bells and hats and eyebrows of white, and there were trenches through the snow of the doorways. In the harbor, the coals barged came empty and went away loaded, but the coal did not come out of the ground easily. The good miners made mistakes. They were clumsy and slow. Machines broken and took a long time to fix. The people that conquered countries settled in a slow, silent, waiting revenge. The men who these people are ready to kill. The men who had been traitors, who had helped the invaders, who many of them believed it was for a better state and ideal way of life, found that the control they took was insecure, that the people they had known looked at them coldly and never spoke, and there was death in the air, hovering and waiting, accidents happening on the railroad while clung to the mountains and connected the little town with the rest of the nation. Avalanches poured down on the tracks and rails were spread. No train could move unless the tracks were first inspected. People were shot and reprisal and made no difference. Now and then a group of young men escaped and went to England, and the English bombed the coal mines and did some damage and killed some of both their friends and their enemies, and it did no good. The cold the cold hatred grew with the winter, and silence. Silence. It's terrible. They just sent fucking bombs and killed like basically anybody they could because this is just an invaded fucking part of their country. It's terrible. With the winter, the silent, sulken hatred, the waiting hatred, the food supply was controlled and issued to the obedient and withdrawn from the disobedient, so that the whole population turned coldly obedient. There was a point where food could not be withheld, for a starving man cannot mine coal, cannot lift and cannot carry, and the hatred was deep in the eyes of the people, beneath the surface. Now it was the conquered Now it was that the conqueror was surrounded, the men of the battalion alone among silent enemies, and no man might relax his guard for even a moment, for if he did, he disappeared, and some snowdrift received his body. If he went alone to a woman, he disappeared, and some snowdrift received his body. If he drank, he disappeared. The men of the battalion could sing only together, could dance only together, and dancing gradually stopped, and the singing expressed a longing for home. Their talk was of friends and relatives who loved them, and their longings were for warmth and love, because a man can be a soldier for only so many hours a day, and only so many months in a year, and then he wanted to be a man again, wanted girls and drinks and music and laughter and ease. And when they all got cut off, they become irresistibly desirable. Ain't that the fucking truth? Man, kudos to fucking John Steinbeck, because he really got to that. I could see why people were just like, how could you have known? How could you have known this is what we were going through? And he's just like, psh, I just thought about it. Yeah, this is what he came to assume is like, a lack of a better term, that they were going through something like this, and so many people related to this book. I can see now why. So far, so good. I'm enjoying it like no other. I just lost my page, sadly. I'm finding it right now. Here we go. Just found it. Page 58. John Steinbeck's The Moon is Down. Fuck communism. And the men thought always of home. The men of the battalion came to detest the place that they had conquered. And they recruit with the people, and the people recruit with them. And gradually, a little fear began to grow in the conquerors, a fear that it would never be over, that they would never relax or go home, a fear that one day they would be cracked and be hunted through the mountains like rabbits, for the conquered never relaxed their hatred. The patrols, seeing lights, hearing laughter, would be drawn as to a fire, And when they came near, the laughter stopped, the warmth went out, and the people went cold and obedient. And the soldiers, smelling warm food from the little restaurants, went in and ordered the warm food, and found it was oversalted and overpeppered. Then the soldiers read the news from home and from the other conquered countries, that the news was always good. For a little while they believed it. Then after a while they did not believe it any more. That every man carried in their hearts the terror. If home crumbled, there was no telling us that it would be too late. These people will not spare us. They will kill all of us. They remembered stories of their men retreating through Belgium and retreating out of Russia, and more literate remembered the frantic, tragic retreat from Moscow, when every peasant's pitchfork tasted blood and the snow was rotting with bodies. And they knew when they cracked or relaxed or slept too long that it would be the same here. And then sleep was restless and their days were nervous. They asked questions their officers could not answer because they did not know. They were not told either. They did not believe the reports from home either. Thus it came about that the conquerors grew afraid of the conquered, and their nerves wore thin, and they shot at shadows in the night. The cold, sullen silence was with them always. Then 3 soldiers were insane in a week, and cried at night and all day until they were sent away home. And other knights had gone insane if they had not heard the mercy deaths await of insanity at home, and a mercy cry and a terrible thing to think of. Fear crept in the men in their billets. I don't even know what billets is. I really want to say bullets, but it's not even bullets. It's Billets. I'm gonna smoke super quick. So these niggas are breaking. Good. Well, terrible for anyone to go through something like this, but if you're gonna sit there and agree to do something like this and have no remorse or no attempt to add like, hey, maybe we're going about this all wrong. Maybe we just do it ourselves. And it's like, fuck it. Dude, they already fucked up. Like, they could have fucking sat there and just like, yo. Like, honestly, I would have done the right thing. This is what I would have done. I would have killed that fucking Corral. Fuck him. We would have said, even Steven, please. And if they were to agree, which I feel like they would have agreed to that. Even Steven, like, hey, that nigga popped everybody. It wasn't even our soldiers. And like, and the thing is, y'all don't even seem like bad people. Like, we gotta fuck with y'all. And like, so hear about this. Us as the soldiers just live here. We're gonna work on the coal mines, and some of us are gonna work for y'all. And we're gonna sit there and mine coals and take them back home. And we're not gonna kill anyone. Y'all aren't gonna kill us. We'll be friendly about it. And I can only promise that it's gonna last so long, because once they find out this is happening, they will probably be upset with us. But the thing is, we don't want to be bad to you people. We are trying to look out for the country we're going. We need resources. And shoot, it's like, I'm not too sure of like the global affairs that were happening at that time, or like what exactly is happening. So I'm only trying to like think of the best possible solution that everybody's like, you know what, that doesn't sound too bad. And if you complete your task and some of our people help and you get out of here, maybe it's like, you never conquered us at all. And just fucking just go back. Kind of say fuck it. Like, come on. We're all adults here. We don't have to sit there and be assholes. We can do this properly. But with that out of the way, smoke and continue. Here we go. Fear crept in the men, in their billets, and made them sad. It crept in the patrols and made them cruel. The years turned and the nights grew long. It was dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and not light again until 9 in the morning. The jolly lights did not shine. Man, it's one of those countries. 30 Days and Nights, I think it's called, but it was like a vampire movie where the sun didn't appear for 30 days and nights, apparently, and vampires were hunting people in that place. So it's like less of a day, mostly at night at this side of the world. That's just awful. I hope I never have to experience stuff like that. I like the sun, even if I'm not in it for the majority of the day sometimes. Dark. The jolly lights did not shine out of the snow, for by law every window must be black against the bombers. And yet when the English bombers came over, some lights always appeared near the coal mines. Sometimes the sentry shot a man with a lantern and once a girl with a flashlight, and it did no good. Nothing was cured by the shooting, and the soldiers were a reflection of their men. That's fucked up. They're just like, hey, pew, we said no lights. They still did it after a couple people were shot. They don't care. Restrained because their training was more complete, more resourceful, because they had more responsibility. But the same fears were a little deeper buried in them. The same longings were more tightly locked in their hearts, and they were under a double strain, for the conquered people watched them for mistakes, and their own men watched them for weakness. So their spirits were taut to the breaking point. The conquerors were under a terrible spiritual siege, and everyone knew, conquered and conquerors, what would happen when the first crack appeared. From the upstairs room of the mayor's palace, the comfort seemed to have gotten. Over the windows, black paper was tacked tightly, and there was little piles of precious equipment about the room. The instruments and equipment that could not be jeopardized, the glasses and masks and helmets, and discipline here at least was laxer, as though the officers knew there must be some laxness somewhere or the machine would break. On the table were two gasoline lanterns which threw a hard, brilliant light, and they made great shadows on the walls, and their hissing was an undercurrent in the room. Major Hunter went on with his work. His drawing board was permanently ready now, for the bombs tore out his work nearly as fast as he put it in. And he had little sorrow, for to Major Hunter, building was life, and he had more building than he could project or accomplish. He sat at his drawing board with a little behind him, and his t-shirt moved up and down the board, and his pencil was busy. Lieutenant Prackle, his arm still in a sling, sat on a straight chair behind the center table. Read an illustrated paper. At the end of the table, Lieutenant Tonder was writing a letter. He held his paper pinched high, and occasionally he looked up from his letter and gazed at the ceiling to find words to put in his letter. So even though, soldiers or people are dying, blah, blah, we're not really getting any of the main characters dropping like that. Not at least, like Major Hunter's not going. Major Benstick died, blah blah blah. Major Prackle got a little tapped on the side, but as far as I know, I think everybody's still alive and chilling. It's just soldiers are dying and people are dying, and NPCs basically. All right, page 60. We're gonna go ahead and rip it real quick. We are at 40 minutes almost, and we still got plenty of time. Prackle turned his page of the illustrated paper and said, I can close my eyes and see every shop in this street here. And Hunter went on with his work, and Tonder wrote a few more words. Prackle continued. There's a restaurant right behind you. You can see it in the picture. It's called Birdie's. Hunter did not look up. He said, I know that place. They got good scallops. Here they did, Crackle said. Everything was good there. Not a single bad thing did they serve. Their coffee. Tondra looked up from his letter and said, they wouldn't be serving coffee now, or scallops. Well, I don't know about that, said Crackle. They did and they will again. There was a waitress there. He described her figure with his hand, and then a good-haired, blonde, so-and-so. He looked down at the magazine. She had the strangest eyes. Always kind of moist, looking as though they had just been laughing and crying. He glanced at the ceiling and spoke softly. I was out with her. She was lovely. Wonder why I didn't go back often. I wonder if she's still there. Tonder said gloomily. Probably not. Working in a factory, maybe. Crackle laughed. I hope they ain't rationing girls at home. Why not? Question mark, said Tonder. Crackle said playfully. I don't care much for girls. Do you? Not much. You don't, Tonder said. I like them for what girls are for. I don't let them crawl around my other life. And Crackle said tauntingly, it seems to me that they crawl all over you all the time. What's he trying to say by that? Tonder tried to change the subject. He said, I hate these damn lanterns. Major, what are we going to get the dynamo fixed? I didn't even know what the fucking dynamo was. There's something else I gotta look up. Major Hunter looked up slowly from his board and said, It should be done. It should be done by now. I've got good men working on it. I'll double the guard on it for them, I guess. Did you get the fella that... You get the fella that wrecked it? Question mark? Crackle asked. And Hunter said grimmingly, it might as well be any of the 5 men. I got all 5 of them. He went on musingly. It's so easy to be a dynamo if you know how. Just short of it, it wrecks itself. He said, The light ought to be in any time now. Crackle looked up at his magazine. I wonder when it will be relieved. I wonder when we'll go home for a while. Major, wouldn't you like to go home for a rest a bit? Question mark. Hunter looked up from his work and his face was hopeless for a moment. Yes, of course. He recovered himself. I built this siding 4 times. That's why I don't know why Obama is knocking out this particular siding. I'm getting tired of this piece of trash. I've had to change the route 4 times because of the craters. There ain't no time to fill it. The ground is frozen too hard. It seems to be too much work. Suddenly, the electric lights came on and Tonder automatically reached out and turned off the 2 gasoline lanterns. The hissing was gone from the room. Tonder said, Thank God for that. No, it's me. Thank God for that. That hissing getting on my nerves. It made me think there's whispering. He folded the letter they had been writing and said, It's strange more letters don't come through. I've only had 1 in 2 weeks. Crackle said, "Maybe nobody writes to you." "Maybe," Tawner said, smiling. He turned to the Major. "If anything happens, at home at least, I mean, do you think they would let us know? Anything bad? I mean, any deaths or anything like that of the sort?" Question mark. Hunter said, "I don't know." "Well," Tawner went on, "I would like to get out of this godforsaken hole!" Exclamation point. Crackle broke it in. "I thought you were going to live here after the war?" Question mark. And then he imitated Tawner's voice. Oh, how would that go? "Put 4 or 5 farms together. Make a nice place. A kind of family, Brad. Wasn't that it? Question mark. Going to be a little Lord of the Lines? Weren't you? Question mark. Nice, pleasant people. Beautiful lawns and the dear little children. Isn't that what it was, Tawner? Question mark. Fucking awesome. As Crackle spoke, Taunder's hands dropped. Then he clasped his temple with his hands and he spoke with emotion. "But still, don't talk like that!" Exclamation point. These people! Exclamation point. These horrible people! Exclamation point. These cold people! They never look at you. He shivered. They never speak to us. They answer like dead men. They obey these horrible people, and the girls are always frozen. Oh, it's terrible, but you are conquerors and you are pieces of shit for conquering the free land, so can you blame them? There was a light tap at the door and Joseph came in with a scuttle of coal. He moved silently through the room and settled the scuttle down so softly that it made no noise. He turned without looking up at anyone and went towards the door again. Crackle said loudly, "Joseph!" And Joseph turned without replying, without looking up, and he bowed very slightly. And then Crackle said loudly, "Joseph, is there any wine or any brandy?" Joseph shook his head. Tawner stood up from the table, his face wide with anger, and he shouted, "Answer, you swine! Answer in words, for God's sakes!" Joseph did not look up. He spoke tonelessly. "No, sir. No, sir. There is no wine." And Tawner said furiously, "And no brandy? Question mark?" Joseph looked down and spoke tonelessly again. "There is no brandy, sir." He stood perfectly still. "What do you want?" Tawner said. "I want to go, sir." "Then go. God damn it." Joseph turned and went silently out of the room, and Tawner took a handkerchief out of his pocket and wiped his face. Hunter looked up at him and said, "You shouldn't beat him up so easily like that." Tawner sat down on his chair and put his hands to his temples, and he said brokenly, "I want a girl. I want to go home. I want a girl. And there's a girl in this town, a pretty girl. I've seen her all the time. She has blonde hair. She lives beside the old iron store. I want that girl." Crackle said, "Watch yourself. Watch them nerves." At the moment, the light went out again, and the room was in darkness. Hunter spoke while the matches were being struck and an attempt was being made to light the lanterns. He said, "I thought I had all of them. I must have missed one. But I can't be running down there all the time. I've got good men down there." Tawner lighted the first lantern and then he lighted the other, and Hunter spoke sternly to Tawner. "Lieutenant, don't you talk to us if you don't have to talk. Don't let the enemy hear you talk this way. There's nothing these people would like better than their nerves are getting thin. Don't let the enemy hear you." Tawner sat down again. The light was sharp on his face, and then hissing filled the room. He said, That's it. The enemy's everywhere. Every man, every woman, every children. The enemy's everywhere. The faces looking out of the doorways. The white faces behind the curtains, listening. We have beaten them. We have won everywhere. And they won, and they wait and obey. They wait. Half the world is ours. It is the same as other places. Major? Question mark. And Hunter said, I don't know. That's it, Tonner said. We don't know. The report, everything in hand, conquered countries, cheering our soldiers, cheering the new order. His voice changed and he grew soft and softer. What did the report say about us? Did they say we were cheered, loved, flowers in our paths? Did these horrible people waiting in the snow know? And Hunter said, now that that's off your chest, do you feel better? Question mark. Crackle had been beating the table softly with his good fist, and he said, he shouldn't talk that way. He knows to keep things to himself. He's a soldier, damn it, ain't he? Then let him be a soldier. The door opened quietly, and Captain Loft came in, and there was snow on his helmet and snow on his shoulders. His nose was pinched and red, and his overcoat collar was high above his ears. He took off the helmet, and the snow fell to the floor and brushed his shoulders. What a job! What a... see, I can't... Let me see, how am I going to distinguish Crackle and Loft? And then... What a job. Yeah, there you go. And he brushed his shoulder. What a job, he said. More trouble? Hunter asked. Always trouble. They got your dynamo again. Well, I think I'll fix the mine for a while. What's your trouble? Hunter asked. Oh, the usual thing with me. The slow down with the red dump clamp. I saw the record, though. I shot him. I think I had a cure for it. Major now. I just thought it up. I made each man take out a certain amount of coal. I can't starve the man or they can't work. But I really got the answer. If the coal doesn't come out, no food for the families. We'll have the men eat at the mines. There's no dividing at home. They ought to cure it. They work or their kids don't eat. I told them just now. What did they say? Question mark. Lofter's eyes narrowed fiercely. Say? What do they ever say? Nothing. Nothing at all. We'll see where the coal comes on now. They took off the coal and shook it, and his eyes fell on the entrance door, and he saw it was open a crack. He moved silently to the door, jerked it open, and then closed it. I thought I closed it right. I thought I closed it tight, he said. You did, said Hunter. Crackle still turned the pages of his illustrated paper. His voice was normal now. Those are monsters. Just imagine Crackle's voice. Well, it says his voice is normal now. Those are monsters guns we're using in the East. I never saw one, but did you, Captain? Oh, yes, said Captain Locke. I sent them fired. I've seen them fired. They're wonderful. Nothing could stand up against them. Tonder said, Captain, do you get much news from home? A certain amount, said Loft. Is everything well there? Wonderful, said Loft. The armies are mostly ahead everywhere. The British aren't defeated yet. They are defeated in every engagement. But they fight on? A few air raids, no more. And the Russians? It's all over. Tonder said insistently, but they fight on. A little skirmishing, no more. Then we have just all but won, haven't we, Captain? Tonder asked. Yes, we have. Tonder looked closely at him and said, "You believe this, don't you, Captain?" Crackle broke in. "Don't you let him start that again." Lobs scolded at Tonder. "Don't you know what you... I don't know what you mean." Tonder said, "I mean this. We'll be going home before long, won't we?" "Well, the reorganization will take some time." Oh God, it was Hunter that said that. "Well, the reorganization will take some time," Hunter said. "The new orders just can't be put into effect in a day, can it?" Tonder said, "All our lives, perhaps." And Crackle said, "Don't let him start this again." I just love the fact that they said his voice turned to normal, and I don't know, like, I'm just playing along, making mostly a bit, but probably gotta go back into it. Locke came close to Tonder and said, "Lieutenant, I don't like the tone of your questions. I don't like the tone of doubt you got." Hunter looked up and said, "Don't be hard on him, Lord. He's tired. We're all tired." "Well, I'm tired too," said Locke, "but I don't let treasonable doubt get into me." Hunter said, "Don't bedevil him, I tells you. Where's the colonel, do you know? Question mark. He's making out his report. He's asking for reinforcements," said Locke. "It's a bigger job than we thought." Crackle asked excitedly, "Won't he get them? The reinforcements?" "How would I know?" Tonder smiled. "Reinforcements," he said softly. "Or maybe replacements. Maybe we could go home for a while." And he said, smiling, "Maybe I could walk down the street and people would say, 'Hello,' and they'd say, 'There goes a soldier,' and they'd be glad for me, and they'd be glad for me, and they'd be glad for that I have friends, and I'm about to go and turn my back to a man without having to be afraid." Crackle said, "Don't start this again. Don't let him get out of hand again." And Lob said disgustingly, "We've had enough trouble now without having the staff go crazy." But Tonder went on, "You really think replacements would come, Captain?" "Didn't say so." "But you said they might." "Said I didn't know. Look, Lieutenant, we conquered half the world. We must police it for a while. You know that." "But the other half?" Tonder asked. "They will fight in hopeless for a while." "Then we must spread out all over." "For a while," said Tonder, nodding his head. Crackle said nervously, "I wish you'd make him shut up. I wish you'd just make him shut up. Make him just stop." Tonder got out his handkerchief and blew his nose, and he spoke a little like a man out of his head. He laughed embarrassedly. He said, "I had a funny dream. I guess it was a dream. Maybe it was a thought. Maybe I thought or dreamed it." Crackle said, "Make him stop, Captain." Tonder said, "Captain, is this place conquered?" "Of course." "Of course," said Loft. A little note of hysteria crept into Tonder's laughter. He said, "Conquered, and we're afraid. Conquered, and we're surrounded." He laughed. His grew shrills. "I had a dream, or a thought, or out in the snow with the black shadows and the face in the doorways and the cold faces behind curtains. I had thought or dreamed it." Crackle said, "Make him stop! Make him stop!" Tonder said, "I dreamed the leader went crazy." And Loft and Hunter laughed together, and Loft said, "The enemy have found out how crazy. I'll have to write that one home. The papers that print that one, the enemy had learned how crazy the leader is." And Tonder went out laughing. Conquest after conquest, deeper and deeper into molasses. His laughter choked him and he coughed into a handkerchief. Maybe the leader is crazy. Flies conquer the flypaper. Flies conquer 200 miles of new flypaper. His laughter was growing more hysteric now. Crackle leaned up and shook him with a great hand. Stop it! You stop it now! You stop it now! You have no right! And gradually Loft recognized that the laughter was hysterical, and he stepped into Tonder and slapped him in his face. Lieutenant, stop it now! Tonder's laughter went on, and Loft slapped him again in his face and said, Stop it, Lieutenant! Do you hear me? Suddenly, Tonder's laughter stopped and the room was quiet. Quiet except the hissing of the lanterns. Tonder looked in amazement at his hand, and he felt his bruised face with his hand, and he looked at his hand again, and his head sank down towards the table. I want to go home, he said. Page 70. Damn, this is fucking crazy. So he basically just went fucking like insane for a minute there. And then finally they snapped him out of his like psychosis basically. Like he got driven to madness through like isolation and like constant we're not in the wild, we're not animals. We may be going out and doing animal like shit like conquering a territory like fucking lions, but as like sentient humans, I think they're recognizing the fucking, like they said in the book, it was like, yeah, you can only do this for so long. You're eventually just gonna break, and you're not gonna want to do this anymore. And he just shown it right there. He just shown it by saying, "I want to go home." I don't think he could have said it any more clear than that. I want to go home. Will they take him home? Hopefully. Sounds like Lieutenant Tonder ain't having a good run. So he went crazy, and he did it in front of Lieutenant Loft and Lieutenant Prackle. Prackle has already been known he's been acting like this. Like, yo, make him stop, higher up. And finally, Loft was like, he's right. But it was like good. It like got all the way to the point of like uncontrollable. At least he let it get to the point. It's like, all right, this is getting out of hand. And then he brought it back into hand with his hand by slapping him a couple times. Very interesting how that works. He had to use physical force to bring somebody back into at least a semi-conscious state. Because he might as well just not fucking been there anymore. He was losing his shit. Alright, the next book packed is going to be for the next one. We're about an hour and 5 minutes into this. If you're still here, congratulations, you're a fucking trooper. But nothing like these troopers. Nothing like the troopers that are invading this country and being pieces of shit. But hopefully you have the humanity of somebody who like feels for these troopers and for the soldiers, because this is all just being like they just wanted a job. Who knows why they did this? It could be for various reasons. But at the end of the day, money is make the world go round. And when does money stop being the focus? When is your like moral compass begin to take priority? It's very enticing for people to give into those like monetary. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Apologies. I am pretty baked right now. It's been an hour long since we're doing this. So what? I want to say superficial. There we go. Superficial. I believe I'm saying the right term. Superficial, like very shallow desires. Like whenever you sit there and say that somebody's being superficial, you're saying like they're a very shallow individual. Superficial, yeah. I really hope I'm saying the correct term, although let's just continue on regardless. Chapter 6, page 70 of The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. There was a little street not far from the town square where small peaked roofs and little shops were mixed up together. The snow was beaten down on the walks in the street, but it was piled high on the fences and it was puffed on the roofs. It dripped against the shuttered windows of the little houses and into the yard paths were shoveled. The nights were dark and cold with no light shone from the windows to attach the bombers, and no one walked in the street, for the curfew was strict. The houses were dark lumps against the snow. Every little while the patrol of 6 men walked down the street, peering about, and each man carried a long flashlight. The huts tramped of their feet sounded in the street, the squawks of their boots on the packed snow. They were muffled figures deep in thick coats. Under their helmets were knitted caps which came down over their ears and covered their chins and mouths. A little snow fell, only a little, like rice. The patrol talked as they walked, and they talked of things that they longed for, of the meats and the hot soups, and of the riches of butter, and the prettiness of girls, and their smiles, and their lips, and their eyes. They talked of these things, and sometimes they talked to their hatred of what they were doing and of their loneliness. A small peaked roof house beside the iron shop was shaped like the others, and wore its snow cap like the others. No light came from its shuttered windows, and its storm doors were tightly closed. But inside, a lamp burned in the small living room, and the door in the bedroom was open, and the door in the kitchen was open, and the iron stove was against the back wall with a little coal fire burning in it. It was a warm, poor, comfortable room, the floor covered with worn carpet, the walls papered in warm brown with an old-fashioned fleur de lis figure in gold. I'm sure I butchered that. FLEURDELIS, figure in gold. And on the back wall were 2 pictures, one of fish lying dead on a plate of ferns, and the other of grouse lying dead on a fry blade. Waff, waff. I'm just, cause like cough, but with a B besides a C, BOUGH. On the right wall, there was a picture of Christ walking on the waves towards the disappearing fishermen. 2 straight chairs were in the room, and a couch covered with a bright blanket. There was a little round table in the middle of the room, on which a kerosene lamp with a round flowered shade on it, and the light in the room was warm and soft. The inner door, which led to the passage, which in turn led to the storm door, was beside the stove. So far, so good. Page 71. Making great timing. There we go. In a cushioned old rocking chair beside the table, Molly Morden sat alone. Ah, yes, we're going back to Molly, because her husband just got killed, Alex Morden. She was unrevealing the wool of an old blue sweater and winding the yarn on a ball. She was quite a large ball of it, and on the table beside her was her knitting with the needle sticking in it, and a large part of scissors. Her glasses laid on the table beside her, for she did not need them for knitting. She was pretty and young and neat. Her golden hair was done up on the top of her hair, and a blue bow in her blue hair. Her hands worked quickly with the reveling. Reveling? Yeah. Raveling. Reveling. As she worked, she glanced now and then at the door to the passage. The wind whistled in the chimney softly, but it was a quiet night, muffled with snow. Suddenly, she stopped her work. Her hands were still. She looked towards the door and listened. The trampling feet of the patrol went by on the street, and the sounds of their voices could be heard faintly. The sound faded away. Molly ripped out new yarn and wound it on the ball, and again it stopped. There was a rustle at the door and 3 short knocks. Molly pulled down her work and went to the door. Yes? Oh, it's a female, so. Yes, she said. She unlocked the door and opened it to a heavily, apologies, coated figure that came in. It was Annie, the cook, red-eyed and swollen in mufflers. She slipped in quickly as though practiced at getting speedily through doors and getting them closed again behind her. She stood there, red-nosed, sniffling and glancing quickly around the room. Molly said, "Good evening, Annie. I didn't expect you tonight. Take your things off and get warm. It's cold out." Annie said, "The soldiers brought winter early. My father always said a war brought bad weather, and bad weather brought a war. I don't remember which." "Take your things off and come to the stove." "I can't," said Annie importantly. "They're coming." "Who's coming?" Molly said. "His Excellency," said Annie, "and the doctor and the 2 Andrew boys." "Here?" said Molly asked. "What for?" ? Annie held out her hand and there was a little package in it. "Take it," she said. "I stole it from the colonel's plate. It's meat." And Molly wrapped the little cake of meats and put it in her mouth and spoke around her chewing. "You get some?" Annie said, "I cooked it, didn't I? I always get some." "When are they coming?" ? Annie sniffed. The Andre boys are sailing for England. They got to. They're hiding out now." "Are they?" ? "What for?" "Well, it's about their brother, Jack. Was shot today for wrecking that little car. The soldiers were looking for the rest of the family. You know how they do." "Yes," Molly said. "I do know how they do. Sit down, Annie." "No time," Annie said. "I got to get back and tell His Excellency it's all right." Molly said, "Did anybody see you come?" ? Annie smiled proudly. "No, I'm awfully good at sneaking." "Hi, Dad." "How will the mayor get out?" ? Annie laughed. "Joseph's going to be in the bed in case they look in, right in the nightstand, right next to Madame." and she laughed again. She said, Joseph better be pretty quiet. Molly said, It's awful. It's an awful night to be sailing. It's better than being shot. Yes, so it is. Why is the mayor coming here? I don't know. I want to talk to Andre's boys. I've got to go on. I can come and tell you. Molly said, How soon are they coming? Oh, maybe half, maybe 3/4 of an hour from now. Andy said, I'll come in first. Nobody bothers with old cooks. She started for the door and she turned midway, and as though accusing Molly of saying the last words, she said truculently, I'm not so old. She slipped out of the door and closed it behind her. Molly went on knitting for a moment, and then she went up and went to the stove and lifted the lid. The glow of the fire lighted her face. She stirred the fire and added a few lumps of coal and closed the stove again. Before she could get to her chair, there was a knocking on the outer door. She crossed the room and said to herself, Wonder what she forgot. No, don't open that fucking door. It's not her. Watch, it's not going to be her. She went to the passage and she said, What do you want? A man's voice answered, Fuck. She opened the door and a man's voice answered, I don't mean any harm. I don't mean any harm. Molly backed into the room and Lieutenant Tonder followed her in. Oh, it's Lieutenant fucking Tonder. It's me. Holy shit. The fuck? Molly said, Who are you? What do you want? You can't come in here. What do you want? Lieutenant Tonder was dressed in his geared gray overcoat. He entered the room and took off his helmet as he spoke pleadingly. I don't mean any harm. Please let me come in. Molly said, What do you want? She shut the door behind him and he said, Miss, I only want to talk, that's all. I'm just here to talk. That's all I want. Are you forcing yourself on me? No, miss. Just let me stay a while and then I'll go. What do you want? Tonder tried to explain. Can you understand this? Can you believe this? Just for a little while. Can we forget this war? Just for a little while. Just for a little while. Can we just talk together like people? Together? Molly looked at him for a long time and then a smile came to her lips. You don't know who I am, do you? Tonder said, I've seen you in the town. I've known you're lovely. I know I want you. I know I want to talk to you. And Molly still smiled, and she said softly, You don't know who I am. She sat in her chair, and Tonder stood like a child, looking very clumsily. Molly continued, speaking quietly. Why are you lonely? It's as simple as that, isn't it? Tonder licked his lips and spoke eagerly. That's it, he said. You understand. I knew you would. I knew you'd have to. His words come rumbling out. I'm lonely to the point of illness. I'm lonely to the quiet and the hatred. And he said pleadingly, Can we talk just for a little bit? Molly picked up her knitting. She looked quietly at the front door. You can stay no more than 15 minutes. Sit down a little, Lieutenant. She looked at the door again. The house creaked. Tonder became tense and he said, Is someone here? No? The snow's heavy on the roof. I have no man anymore to push it down. Tonder said gently, Who did it? Was it something we did? And Molly nodded, looking far off. Yes. This is crazy. I give it like 2 more minutes and we'll finish this page out and then I'll be done. And Molly nodded to look off far. Yes. He sat down. I'm sorry. After a moment he said, I wish I could do something. I had a snow pushed off the roof. No. Molly said, No. Why not? Because the people would think I had joined with you. They would expel me. I don't want to be expelled. Tonder said, Yes. I see how that would be. You all hate us. But I care of you if you let me. Now Molly knew she was in control. And her eyes narrowed a little cruelly and she said, Why do you ask? You are the conquerors. Men don't have to ask. They take what they want.